In this lesson, I'm going to explain the picture-in-a-picture technique. And along the way, I'm going to tell you how to make a frame with a beveled edge, how to apply drop shadows to that frame, and also how to use something called the nested sequence. So to follow along, go to Working Files, Projects, and go on down to 1204 Picture-in-Picture. We have 4 clips here. We're going to have 1 clip serve as the base for the picture-in-picture approach, and then 3 clips will appear on top of that. The 1 clip at the bottom will be in one sequence, and then we'll build a separate sequence with the 3 other clips. And then we'll take that separate sequence and add it to the first one. We're going to nest that other sequence in the first sequence. It's an interesting technique that can simplify your life sometimes when you've got a lot of clips stacked up on top of each other. So let's see what we've got here. First of all, we've got 4 clips. Let's look at the icon view. We got one view of the Matterhorn, one other one, a third one, and then this guy we're going to use as the backdrop. Let's go back to the list view and make the first sequence. Use the time-lapse 1 as the background. So I'm just going to drag this time-lapse 1 clip over here to the new item icon. Here we go. Pull it on down there and let it go. That creates a new sequence with that clip in it. I'm going to hit the backslash key just to kind of get some more real estate there. This will be the background, then it's about 14.5 seconds long. Let's name it background. So click on it to highlight it, type in background. Now we need to make the other sequence. So I'm going to take Scenic 8 here. I could take any one of the other 3, but I'll take Scenic 8 and drag it down to the new item icon, making a new sequence there. There it is. Let's name this one Nested Sequence. That way we can keep track of it. There's Scenic 8 on video 1. I want to put it on video 2 because I'm going to put a frame underneath it. So I'm going to drag it up to video 2 like that. Easy enough to put it on video 2. We're going to put something else below it here in a moment. Let's get the other 2 clips in there as well. I want this one to go above it, Scenic 9. Right now I can't get to video 4. That's where I want it to go, so I've got to drag this up a little ways. And lo and behold, there isn't a video 4, but look how easily we can make a new track. Just drag this above video 3, and it makes a new track, puts it in video 4. I'll show you that right there. And now I want to put this last clip, time-lapse 2, on video 6. Well, you can't create one above the empty space. This would be 5. You can't create number 6 all in one fell swoop here. So I'm dragging number 2 up to number 5 like that. And I'll drag it up one more notch to number 6 there. We've got these guys stacked up there. Let me just look down here at the audio. We've got the audio kind of spread out here from the 4 clips. I'm going to take this last piece of audio here and drag it up to audio 2 so you can kind of keep track of it a little more easily. There you go. So now I got those guys all lined up and those guys all lined up. What I want to do now is place them. So let's see how that works. This one on top is time-lapse. It's covering everything else. This one covers the one below it on track 4, and track 4 covers the one below it on track 2. So let's start with the one on top, and then open up its Effect Controls panel and go to Motion. It's clicking on Motion. There's a bounding box around it. We can drag it down, and we'll see one clip below it there like that. Let's have its scale be, let's say, 35%. So click on Scale and type in 35. There you go. I want it to be top center like that. Okay, let's click the next one. Scrolling down to number 9 here on track 4. I want it too to be 35%. So I select Motion for it, type in 35 for the scale. There we go. And now it matches the size, but not the position. I'm going to drag this one over here like so. And now select the one on the bottom and track 2, make it active. Click on Motion here, open it up, and go to Scale again and type in 35 for that. And we'll drag it down, click on Motion to get it active, and click it down, drag it down there. There we go. I want to leave a little bit of room around all these guys because I want to put a frame around them. So in fact, I might want to take the one on top a little bit higher. As long as this one's selected like this, I can click on the other ones and they'll be selected too. So I want to drag it up a little bit more like that. I think we're okay now. All right, now I want to make a frame for one of them, and then we'll figure out how to make frames for the rest of them. A frame is just a solid object. So let's go on down here and say, to the new item icon, we'll say New Color Matte. And the color matte matches the characteristics of the sequence. So we say, yep, that's what we want. Let's make it sort of brown, I think, to make it a nice brown color for a frame. That makes sense to have a brown frame like that. You can make it any color you darn well please. I'm going to call it Frame. There you go. Now it's down here in the project panel. I'm going to drag it over to this one on the bottom here. There you go. I'll make it as long as that clip is. Now you see that it covers everything below it. But I don't want it to do that. I want it to go below this one here. Let me do something. I'm going to drag this thing down a little bit, put my cursor between the audio and video and pull that down a bit so we can have a little more real estate here like that. Now I want to turn off the eyeballs for the ones on top. Off, off. Now we're working only in this one in the corner. I want this frame to match that position and scale. So I'm going to click on this clip, make it active. I'm going to right-click on the word motion and say copy. That means I'm going to copy the motion properties. And now I'm going to click on frame to make it active. I'm going to right-click next to motion here and say paste. And it will copy and paste the motion characteristics from this clip to that clip. The most important thing it copied was the position, because we really want to get it lined up perfectly. Okay, now we've got the frame. It's exactly underneath this, but it's the exact same size, shape, and position. Now I want to increase its size so we can use it as a frame. So I'm going to increase the scale a bit here, like so. And because it increases proportionately, the top's a little bit narrower than the sides. So I'm going to turn off uniform scale, and something weird's going to happen. It's going to do that. As long as I just click on it and drag it, it'll drag back uniformly, like so. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the other two. Take frame and put this one below this guy. Drag it out all the way. Turn on the eyeball for this one. Click on this. Right-click on motion. Copy. Click on the frame. Right-click on motion. Paste. Now it's lined up right underneath there. We can increase its size too. Now if we go back down to this one says 43 and 39.7. We can make this one 40 just to make sure it's even. That'll make it easier to do. So 43 and 40. Let's go to this one. We'll type 43 and 40. Go uniform scale, 43, and go down here, 40. Now it matches that guy exactly. We'll go up one more notch here. We'll drag the frame over to the next one here. It's going to cover everything up. Turn on the eyeball for the guy on top. Click on it. Right-click on motion. Say copy. Go down this one. Say paste. Now I want to do the same thing. The guy down here was 43 and 40. So for this one, I'm going to unclick this and go 43 and 40. And there we go. We've got 3 frames that are equal. Now I want to bevel their edges and add a drop shadow. So I'm going to go down to the effects. I can type in bevel, but I know that there's a bevel preset, which is kind of cool. Under bevel edges, there's bevel edges thin. I'm going to apply bevel edges thin to this top frame. Just drag it over there like that. Boom. That looks pretty good. I'll do the same thing to the other two. So I'll just drag it over here. There we go. And drag it on down to the last one, like so. Simple enough, all right? Now I want to add a drop shadow to all 3 of them. Now the trouble is we won't see a drop shadow now. We won't really see how it looks. So I'm going to hold off on that for a little moment here. And I'll show you how this nested sequence can work down the road. Now what I want to do is make sure all the clips are the same length. So I'm just going to expand the view a bit here by pressing the backslash key so I can see everybody more clearly. I'll take these guys on top and have them go the same length as the shortest one. That one there. There. Scrolling down a bit. That one there. Like that. I think we got it all straightened out there. We have now done our pictures in a picture. What I want to do is have them appear one at a time. Now I could use an effect to have them appear with a cross dissolve, or I could have motion, have them come out. But that's something I'm going to reserve for a later lesson. So I just want them to pop on screen one at a time. So I know that the clip over here is 14.5 seconds long. And I know that this one here is only 11. I basically have 3 seconds total on both ends to play with. So I can have 1.5 here and 1.5 here before these guys even appear. So what I want to do is I want to move them over 1.5 seconds. So I've got 11:10 here, so 1.5 seconds would be 12:25. So I'm going to go to 12:25 or thereabouts, doesn't have to be exact. About 12:25 there. And now I'm going to drag all the clips over there. And to select all the clips, I just need to drag my cursor here, click and drag to marquee select the clips. This automatically selects the audio as well, but I might not have got that top clip. Nope, I didn't. So let me make some more room here. There we go. Now I'll try that again. So I'll click away and marquee select all 6 of them and drag them all over to that guy. There you go. So what's going to happen is that the cloud is going to play for 1.5 seconds or so, and then these clips are going to start popping on. Click away to deselect them. I want the one on top, which is that one. I want that one to appear first. Then I want the one below it, which is that one below to the left, to appear second. So I want it to appear maybe about 1 second in. So here we are at 1:15, about 2:15 or so. Bring in that second one. So I'm going to slide it over like so. And slide this one over equally, so the frame comes on at the same time. Then I want the next one to come on maybe about 3:15 or so, right around there. Probably get over like that. Drag over the frame to about there. Now I want the audio to last for the entire length of the 14-second clip. So I'm going to drag this guy up so I can see all the audio. We've been changing the audio length here as we've been trimming things away. What I want to do is take the first piece of audio here and make it go back out to its original length. I need to select it on its own, so I press on the Alt or the Option key and click it. That means I just select just the audio. And I'm going to drag it as far left as I can. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep on dragging it farther, but now if I drag it, I'm going to drag the video clip too. So I Alt click on it again, or Option click on it again, and slide it all the way over to the left there. Now I want to take this one and drag it all the way over to about 14.5 seconds. So I'm going to go to 14.5 here, right around there. That's the length of the cloud clip, so I'm going to have this guy go to the right. So I click on it with the Alt key or the Option key held down to select it separately, drag it to the right all the way. There we go. I want to extend the beginning of it to have it go as far as it can, so we're going to drag it to the left there. There we go. All right, now we got things pretty well arranged. I'll pull this down a little bit more. Now I want the audio to come on non-abruptly, so I'm going to use a crossfade to do that. So I'm going to go over to Effects and go down to Audio Transitions, Crossfades, and apply the constant power crossfade to the beginning of that one. And you may ask yourself, why don't I just drag the cross-dissolve transition to the beginnings of all these frames? Well, sometimes when you have a cross-dissolve on two objects at once, it doesn't come on smoothly equally to both of them. It looks kind of clumsy. So I'm not going to do that in this case, but I will have them all cross-dissolve out at once. And now I'm going to use the nested sequence to do that. Okay, we've got things in order here minus the drop shadow. So let's go back over to the background, and I'm going to put this sequence on top of this sequence. So I'm going to go back over to the project panel. There's the nested sequence. I'm going to drag it right on top of this. Notice the red line there. That's where all the effects start. Up to that point, nothing happens except audio. Then, bam, they start popping on. So that's our sequence working on top of this other one. It's a nested sequence. It acts like it's one clip, which is kind of interesting. Let's go over there. Boom, boom, boom. Let's watch it play for a second. It would be nice, of course, if we could have them come on more smoothly, but we'll do that later in a later lesson. That's just how that works. At the end here, I want to fade them out where they all disappear right there, where the red line ends. I want to trim this clip back so I can apply a cross dissolve to all 6 at once right here, but I don't want to trim back the audio. So I hold down the Alt or the Option key and then click on this one in the end, and it'll select just that one clip, which is nice. It doesn't affect the audio. Let go of the Alt or the Option key. Now I want to cross dissolve there. So I'm going to go over back to the Effects, go back down to Video Transitions, Dissolve, Cross Dissolve at the end of that one. There we go. So now all 3 of them with their frames will go out together nicely. There you go. And the audio will fade on its own because we already set it to fade. And now I can add a cross dissolve to the end of the clouds. So, and a cross dissolve to the beginning of the clouds to have that come on nicely, like so. Now what I want to do also is I want to have the clouds become blurred. The moment these guys come on, I want them to be blurred. So I'm going to put my current time indicator right there. That's where I want it to be blurry. I'm going to apply a blur effect there. So I'm going to go to Video Effects, Blur and Sharpen, go on down to the Gaussian blur, add that to the clouds. Now it won't blur anything, it just sits there in neutral, which is a good thing. I'm going to turn on keyframes for this spot. Just turn it on. I want it to be blurry there. So I'm going to increase the blurriness right there. You see it gets kind of dark around the edges. Click on the Repeat Edge Pixels, and that takes care of that. Now I'm going to back up just a little bit here. And right about that far, I want it to be not blurry at all, so I'll go to 0. So it'll go like this. How about that? We'll go to the end. Just here where they start fading away, I want to have the blur return to sharp. So I'm going to click this little Add Remove Keyframe diamond. That'll add a keyframe there equal to the one that preceded it. And that one that preceded it was blurry, 61 blurry factor, whatever that is. And now I'm going to go a little bit farther to the end of the cross dissolve here, right there. And by that time, we're going to have things sharp again. So I bring this to 0, and that will take care of how we set keyframes for the blurriness. So it goes like this. There we go. And at the end, it'll fade out. And we get unblurry, and then we fade everything out again. Okay, so the one thing that's missing now is a drop shadow. And unfortunately, we can't apply a drop shadow to this sequence. We have to go back and do it individually. So I want to show you how you can then check that out. So I'm going to go over to this nested sequence. And right now, I have no idea what the drop shadows are going to look like because we have a black background here, which just won't work. So here's the little experiment that we're going to do. We're going to take all these guys and lift them up a notch. So let me pull this down so you can see things a little bit better. I want to take all 6 clips here, 1 through 6, and lift them up one track. so I can put something below them. So I lift them up straight up. Now we've moved them all up at once. I'm going to click away so I don't select them anymore. I go back to my frame. Right here, and put the frame underneath them like so. Drag it all the way out so I can see it. I want to see how the drop shadow is going to work there. So now I'm going to pull this down a little bit. I'm going to click on this top frame up there. I want to add a drop shadow to it. Go back over to the effects. I'm going to look for a drop shadow here by typing in drop. And there's drop shadow. Drag it to the frame. Don't have to drag it to the image, just to the frame. Click on it to make it active. Let's see what the drop shadow looks like. There you go. It says color, opacity, things like that direction. I want to have the distance be larger so I can see it. See it appearing there now? I'm dragging it over to the side. I can see that drop shadow appearing. It's a little hard edged, so I'm going to soften it up a bit here. So I think it could be a little bit darker, so I'm going to increase the opacity a little bit. And that, I think, will be fine. So what I'm going to do now is right-click on drop shadow and click copy. Then I'm going to go down to the other two frames. This frame here. I'm going to just right-click anywhere here and say paste. That'll add a drop shadow right like that, exactly the same as this drop shadow. Going down to the next frame, click on it. Right-click anywhere here inside the Effect Controls panel and say paste. That'll add a drop shadow there as well. So we've now added drop shadows. And what I'm going to do now is get rid of this frame in the bottom that we use as kind of our way to see the drop shadows. It's gone. The fact that we move things up in the sequence won't make any difference back in the nested sequence. And what's interesting now, we've done this work here, and now it's going to show up immediately over here. There's the drop shadow. See that? Boom, boom, boom. So all three now have drop shadows. Is that not great? We'll let it fade out. There you go. So that is a basic rundown on the picture-in-picture technique.